Oh, come on, baby. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Don't. Oh, get wrecked, dude. Oh, yeah, come at me. Oh, my God. Yo, just get absolute. Oh, my dude. I don't know what these reviewers were saying. Rise of the Ronin is amazing. Oh, my God. Give me all these outposts. Yo, where's my phone? I'm writing a tweet. So, I don't even know what to say.
That didn't go so well.
I might have to eat some crow because I put out a tweet a while ago in response to negative reviews on Rise of the Ronin because 13 hours with the game, I was having a blast with it. And I said the hate was unnecessary and I recommended that everybody go out and buy it. Now having finished it, I still recommend it, but wait for a sale. Rise of the Ronin is, in my opinion, Team Ninja personified, where the combat and gameplay mechanics are top-notch, pristine, fine-tuned. Every good word you could throw at it, you can give it to Team Ninja's combat. Everything else? Honestly, a crapshoot. This game's combat is absolutely amazing. It's like Neo and Ghost of Tsushima had a baby, but didn't think it was good enough, so they called up Sekiro and were like, hey, we're creating the ultimate baby. You want in on this?
That's all you had to say.
It's genuinely that good, but by the end of the game, this combat system has a sore back from carrying everything else. The open world, while fun at first and beautiful, just gets repetitive with its world design, while the story isn't really anything to write home about, although it does have its moments and bright spots. And the progression, while satisfying, also doesn't really feel as good as some of Team Ninja's other games, at least in my opinion. So if you were coming into this game thinking Team Ninja would finally get good in something other than gameplay,
you're about 5 years too early.
But despite all that, I still had fun with the game, so it has to run deeper, right? Well, I hope your parry game is on point. So strap in, boys and girls, and let's get down to business. Rise of the Ronin takes place during the Bakumatsu era of Japan, the final years of Japan's isolationist foreign policy period known as the Edo period. Under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate, several clans grow restless and plan rebellions, but the shogunate sniff all of them out and every single person in each clan is slaughtered. Except for you and your twin, who are saved by a nice old lady.
Lord subterfuge in the way of the sword. These nameless assassins were unmatched in their ability.
And are brought into the Veiled Edge, hidden assassins and masters of the blade whose entire purpose is to overthrow the shogunate. But after an assassination mission gone awry, I mean, you thought you could kill an American commodore on his own ship? Democracy is too strong with this one. So now, separated from your blade twin, you have to track them down and join up with two rival factions to either bring down the shogunate or reform the shogunate. But the elephant in the room? You will be talking to nutcrackers.
He said, we have Taka at Benden Shrine.
What the hell am I looking at?
Listen, if I'm gonna crap on Dragon's Dogma 2 for its zoomed-in dialogue sections, I gotta do the same with Rise of the Ronin. Why do we have deadpan expressions in 2024? I mean, are we really taking advice from Bethesda? Oh, I'm sorry, is your face tired from dealing with everything?
What's wrong with your face?
I mean, doesn't this woman seem really upset to you?
Please, help me save my brother. If we don't, here.
Oh, hi, Haru. The voice acting is also... not that great.
Excuse me, good warrior, but I'd like to ask you something, if you'd listen.
What the hell is that?
It's kind of hard to be engaged here when you're looking at this all game and listening to this all game. Like, guys, come on, what are we doing here? But no matter what you do in Rise of the Ronin, you will always be rolling up with the best part of this game, and that is the combat. Guess what? Team Ninja did it again. What a surprise. This is a dueling simulator through and through, and every time you encounter an enemy, you better be prepared to parry, or as this game calls it, counter spark, or in my case, press triangle until you parry. But that takes a while to get used to. Like Neo, you got different melee and ranged weapons to use. I went with katana and udachi at first before switching to an oxtail blade. And like Ghost of Tsushima, each weapon has different stances, Jin, Chi, and Ten. And each stance have advantages against certain weapon types. And when you have an advantage, each time you counter spark, you do more damage to opponent's stamina, or ki, until that completely runs out, at which point...
Finish him!
This is the most satisfying flow I've felt in a long time. There is absolutely nothing like beating an enemy down this much and then going full Mortal Kombat on them. Heads will roll and it will be absolutely glorious. The stance system also keeps things fresh too, because even though you can still kill the enemies with a weaker stance, they can do more ki damage to you, which, as you can guess, never ends well.
No one stand in my way.
Shut the hell up!
So adjusting on the fly and trying to time your counter sparks while also remembering, oh hey, I can dodge. Wish I remembered that against the Wicker Man here. In most story missions, you're going to have 2 companions with you, and when you're facing a boss, they could follow up your critical hit with one of their own, which, good.
I guess you're good for something.
You can also swap back between them, usually if there's an enemy with a stance that you don't have an advantage for, or when you die, which I mostly needed. In terms of ranged combat, the rifle is back! That is all. That is all you need. Need more examples? Did you get the picture? Alright, you get it. You also have a pistol you can use in combat, which I found useful in tight situations, but I'm gonna be real, it doesn't feel good to use. Yeah, it's fun being in an intense duel, then all of a sudden pulling out a gun like it's Indiana Jones, but the way you activate it, you have to hold down the trigger all the way, but you still have the resistance from the adaptive triggers because the way they have it, halfway is reload, and triggers don't really feel good to use here. If you play the game, you kinda know what I mean. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm a soy boy, but I didn't think using the pistol was as fun as it should have been, and I can't believe I'm saying that in a Team Ninja game. Outside of combat, we also got stealth, of course. Now, picture exactly what you think the stealth is. That's what the stealth is. Although pulling people up on the rooftops with the grappling hook and then snapping their necks in the game that's the best part. Hands down. Up you go, buddy. Also, if you're strong enough, you can assassinate somebody while their friends are watching and get them to cower, meaning they will just stand there with no ki and allow you to chain assassinate them in succession. Overall, the gameplay in Rise of the Ronin is the best thing about it and is so well done. I mean, big surprise, Team Ninja game, great combat, we already know this. And it was consistently the one thing bringing me back into this game. Because everything else? So Team Ninja decided to go open worlds with this game, and before I get into it, I want to stroke my own ego and pretend that someone from Team Ninja is watching this video. Hey buddy, when you're coming up with ideas for your open world game, don't look to Ubisoft for ideas. Unfortunately, your time in Rise of the Ronin's open world will be clearing out enemy outposts, taking part in a side quest that involves you taking out enemies, and finding different things on the map that give you certain things, like a shrine that gives a skill point, or finding a cat. Okay, I think the cat's in here. Here we go. Oh, there he is. Damn, he saw me. I think I broke him. That gives you tokens towards a system that I only used once. Oh, and you can also take pictures.
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
I mean, I could tolerate it much more because it means I could fight with this great combat system, but this doesn't serve it well because it's the only thing you're really ever going to be doing, which means that great combat system is going to get repetitive through no fault of its own. But going through the world is great, at least we got that working for us here. You got the Arkham Glider, which will never not feel great to use. You got the Sekiro grappling hook that allows you to whip up to rooftops or towers, giving traversal an extra layer. You also got these kites in the air you could grapple to and then shoot up with the glider. I mean, it feels great, let's be real. You also get a horse which you could drop onto from your glider, which is just awesome. And you can also assassinate people from your glider. Getting around the world in Rise of the Ronin feels great. But the world itself? I mean, it looks beautiful during the day, especially with these beautiful vistas. The graphics don't really feel next gen, but they do the job enough to give the world some color, especially in the pleasure districts. Oh my god, these just look like gifts from the heavens. And that's before you talk to the women. Seeing the era of Western influence between the different parts of Yokohama, the flow of people aren't really something to write home about, but there's enough traffic to where it makes the cities feel alive. I mean, I never felt like any part I walked through felt like lifeless, unless it was supposed to be. It feels like a great starting point what they got here, but the problem is it doesn't take advantage of these cool traversal systems that it has, or these cool locations that they got, because after all, this is a Team Ninja game. You know exactly where we're going to be fighting. Welcome to your new Team Ninja game. I hope you're ready to go through Japanese house number 100, or better yet, burning Japanese village number 85. I know we're dealing with a specific time in history and we have to conform to that, but I long for the day a Team Ninja world doesn't feel completely identical to every world they've ever made. And that's before you add the Ubisoft side activities that feel like you're just clearing out dots on a map. I mean, to be real, when I first started out, I was giddy to clear everything out because I got to slice up more bandits. But as I unlocked more and more of a region and leveled up my bond with that region, I got different rewards like weapons, store discounts, and emotes, which I never used. And as the game went on, it started to get less and less fun, until by the end when I got to the last region, well, you've seen the intro. The one word I've heard people describe it as is outdated, and though it pains me to say it, they're right. Ghost of Tsushima's world was similar to this, but these activities you did were not only more fun, I will have no bamboo strike disrespect on my timeline, but you got better rewards for doing them, and it made it more enticing to go through them. Plus the world just looked much better. The rewards you get in Rise of the Ronin just straight up aren't worth it for the amount of time the game expects you to put into it, which is a shame because like I keep saying, I was having so much fun with the core gameplay, but the world didn't do enough to build on that experience. And for an open world game, that is criminal. So let's go rapid fire cleanup here before we get to the story. When it comes to customization in Rise of the Ronin, I was actually very impressed. Since we're in this era of Western influence in Japan, you got various other options that normally wouldn't be in a game set in Japan like this. You got your regular Japanese swordsman outfits, you can look like an official, you got this cool looking trench coat outfit with holsters on the side, which I absolutely took advantage of. Hell, you could look like one of the soldiers that you're digging an early grave for. Hey, look, I know you're trying to help us take down the shogunate, but why are you wearing an American uniform? Because, Katsura, democracy. And of course you got the redesign mechanic where you have your outfit always look like what you want it to, but keep the stats of whatever you have equipped, which is the best customization mechanic ever made. Don't at me. But in typical Team Ninja fashion, there's way too much gear. You get something new like every 5 minutes and half the time it ends up sitting in your inventory. Like, look at all this. Like, bro, I'm a Ronin, not a self-storage unit. Calm down. And because of the chance of getting something better than what you have in the world is so high, you never feel the need to buy anything. Raise your hand if you still don't go to the blacksmith, which means, once again, currency is useless. For the love of God, nobody tell Mr. Krabs. Outside of that, we got bonds. You got 3 different types of bonds: faction bonds, companion bonds, and region bonds. The region bonds I touched on earlier. Your companion bonds are your typical relationship mechanic. You know, choose the right dialogue, give them gifts, and participate in bond missions. Really nice how I could give a gift to this woman when her husband is standing right there. It's okay, I'm sure this is gonna go well. Yep, about as well as I expected. Essentially, each person you interact with in the story will lead you to forming a bond with them, which brings me to my question. Are there too many bonds here? There are a whopping 49 bondable characters. 13 of them you can romance, 6 of them are women, but only 1 of them I care about. She increases how much health I can recover. Yeah, for each of the ones you can have favor for, they give you different rewards based on how much your bond level is with them. Like most anti-shogunate boys will give out stance upgrades the more you bond with them. You'll get weapons, armor, skill points, gestures, and the bond missions themselves definitely add some depth to the character, and I basically consider these part of the story. Even though, they don't really connect with anything else, which unfortunately breaks the immersion once again, because you'll do something in one of these quests and the characters involved, even if they aren't the main focus of the mission, won't even acknowledge that it happened. Like I did a mission with Genzui where we had to burn down a British storehouse that had provisions in it, and my very helpful nurse found out and got upset with me right there, as she would. But then I went and talked to her later to do a mission and not one mention of it. And this bleeds over into the shogunate and anti-shogunate bonds. Certain public orders and missions done will strengthen your bond with them, but no one ever says, "Hey, traitor, you want to tell me why you're working with the Americans?" Like, I get it, you're a Ronin, a mercenary, and it's pretty established that you don't really have a side in this fight, but how much better and more immersive would it be if every time you did something for the opposite cause, your standing with another faction could decrease, or you could be locked out of certain missions because, hey, I wanted to learn from the Americans, but you drove them out, so go f*** yourself. It would really force you to actually choose your missions carefully because everything you can do can have a reward and a consequence, but it doesn't feel like anybody really cares, and that kind of sucks. Moving to progression, thank God we got a skill tree with actual useful skills that aren't just passive bullshit. But my problems with this is the way you unlock these things. You got 4 areas: strength, dexterity, intellect, and charm, and each have their own skill points along with the basic skill points. So each section of the skill tree will have 2 types of skill points needed to fully unlock it. Now already I don't like that, but it feels like the devs just threw a dart and said, okay, this requires strength points. These exclusive points are also not as easy to find throughout the world as much as your regular skill points, which you could just level up through playing the game. You could find them, but it's generally going to require you to do other tasks within the world. Like, it requires more effort to get. I feel like this would have been so much better if the specific skill points were towards the bottom of the skill tree, so at least it would make sense that it would require more work to fully unlock the tree, or at least organize it in some way. But alright, all of that is settled, and now it's time to talk the story. As always, if none of you guys want spoilers, you could skip to this timestamp. Alright, let's roll. Now, when it comes to the story of Rise of the Ronin, it's complicated because for me, I didn't walk away from this game thinking, wow, that story just wasted my time, like I did with a certain other game, but I did walk away thinking, damn, that could have been so much better. A lot of this has to do with the fact that the story really doesn't want to go all the way. What do I mean by that? Well, this game includes the most annoying trope in any RPG out there right now. Nobody in this game dies.
Why don't you just die already? Just die.
Obviously, there's some deaths within the story, but most, if not all of the time you beat a major character in a duel, they'll just get away, or they'll kneel there to catch their breath after I've just carved up their body like it's Thanksgiving, and they're probably bleeding out right there, but oh, story reasons, they're still alive.
He's still alive. They hit him with 5 shots and he's still alive.
You'll never do it. It lessens the impact of everything because there's no consequences at all. Also, there's one mission where you run through a French camp. You cut through everybody, and I mean everybody. Remember this? And the guy at the end who gave you the job tells the general you just defeated,
I am sorry. At Katsu's request, I did not inform the French side that this was merely a continuation of the training exercise.
Wait. Training exercise? Training exercise. I just slaughtered everybody in this camp. There's not one person left alive. Yeah, your 2nd battalion got some great training in. The problem is, you no longer have a 2nd battalion. By the way, speaking of...
Come on, show me what you can do. Amazing! It was worth coming all the way to this country.
Yes. Yes, it was worth coming all the way to this country just so I could watch a Ronin put a bullet in my squad mates' heads. Seriously, should we get some medical help here? Another part of not going all the way is that, like I mentioned earlier, it does not matter what side you take in this conflict, because no matter what you do, and no matter what person you feel like turning into minced meat today, nobody is gonna give a shit tomorrow. Oh, you didn't bring us this letter and a ton of our comrades are now going to be executed? It's alright, shit happens. Come back tomorrow for your next job. Oh, you killed our top official that was the key piece in trade negotiations with the Americans? Nah, it's fine. You want to help us reform? Hey, you just caused our master to sacrifice himself, and now we just took a major blow. It's fine. Here, meet my new friend and his dog. Like, all of you should be pissed at me, especially if I piss off the Shogunate. Like, I should have assassins coming after me at this point. I mean, Shogunate assassins literally burned down my clan village and slaughtered everybody there, and I failed that mission. What the hell happens now that I succeeded? Rise of the Ronin wants to have it both ways, but it doesn't make sense when it goes both ways. Like, what is this otherworldly force that is making you not hate me? Even when branching out to other characters, when you try and fail to assassinate Matthew Perry in the beginning, because democracy will always prevail, you will meet up with him later and he will literally tell you it's water under the bridge. Honestly, I'll give that one a pass because I don't want to kill my brethren. And just like a real American, he just shows up randomly to your longhouse just to smoke a cigar in your backyard. I might have gone to my longhouse like 15 times in the game, and he's been here 11. I will give the game credit. The way it portrays the Bakumatsu era and the politics between the both sides, I actually really appreciated. The situation's not all black and white, and the game didn't take a strictly foreigners bad approach with it, when they could have easily gone down that route. Hell, there are some Japanese characters that not only want the Westerners here, but idolized them.
I look forward to learning more about the United States. I plan to continue my education there one day. Showing Yoshida could not realize his dream, but I fully intend to make it happen.
You want to learn about football? Like in the beginning, you're told that the foreigners will ruin Japan. They're thugs, they're killing our people with cholera, and they must be pushed out. But as you do different side quests and progress through the main story too, you'll see that that's not really the case. Like one side mission had me mediate a fight that had broken out between some expulsionist thugs and American officers, and the argument broke out over the Americans tussling with Japanese fishermen, but it turns out that they were just teaching the fishermen self-defense, and the fishermen actually welcomed it. Or that Bond quest with Genzui where we had to burn down that British storehouse to weaken them in the region, but Ine, who I had just recruited for the shogunate, rightfully was like, hey, dumbasses, that shack had Western medicines that are the only reason we've saved this many people. Shit, this is awkward. We still on for tonight though? This even gives Genzui himself a new perspective on his ideals. Genzui himself, as the new leader of the anti-shogunate faction, has a burning hatred towards both the shogunate and the foreigners because his family was killed by the cholera they brought over and the shogunate executed his master. So you see his motivations clearly and rightfully understand why he would be pissed. But throughout the first act, he gets progressively more and more radical to the point where he burns down the British legation. And it's at this point that Ryoma's like, hey buddy, this is going too far, we gotta stop. But after the Bond quest, he starts to realize that maybe he's going about this all wrong, and maybe he is taking it too far. But it's not like the anti-shogunate faction is evil either. They're just a bunch of young guys that like to have fun, but have a vision of what Japan can be. Kind of like the revolutionaries in Les Mis. And they don't really do anything evil, Genzui's rampage aside. Speaking of Ryoma, I actually thought he was the best character in this game. Now, is he gonna rival anybody in Mass Effect? No. Okay, maybe Jacob. But his upbeat personality was a breath of fresh air from all the seriousness everybody in this game has.
Wait, are we all right? I'm Ryoma Sakamoto. We're both Ryos. This must be a sign. Can I see you again?
Right! Let's get swooshing!
He's also got this funny side plot with his ex-girlfriend he was supposed to marry. But I don't know why I like this so much, but I did.
Oh, Ryoma!
Oh,
I had hoped to see you.
No.
You've finally come back to propose, haven't you?
Good to see you too, Lady Zana, but I'm sorry. I'm just too busy to be thinking about things like that right now.
Hey! What on earth is going on? Why is Lady Zana here in Yoshiwara?
What's that supposed to mean? That's right, I do, yeah, you get it.
And his development from Ronin to essentially a pioneer for a new age of Japan, I thought it was pretty compelling. And I was genuinely sad when he died. Even more so when I found out that you could save him if you're Ronin Bond level 6 and I was just short. God damn it! But the majority of the game, you're picking between two sides, and it's really up to your own moral compass to figure out which side resonates with you. But it turns out, that's not gonna matter. The worst part comes towards the end, where you have to choose whether to side with the anti-shogunate forces or protect the shogun as part of the newly formed Shinsengumi. After Genzui's little stunt, me and Ryoma started to work with the shogunate to try and reform it, because that sounded better than killing innocents, obviously. So I had warmed up to the shogunate ideals a little bit. So at the end, I chose to side with the shogunate and become part of the Shinsengumi. We fought the anti-shogunate faction, decimated them, and Genzui committed seppuku. But eventually we had to fight the shogunate anyway because they went too far and Ryoma wanted to switch. And I ended up working with Katsura anyway to infiltrate the Shinsengumi, which I already was a part of, after I had fought him, caused his master to sacrifice himself, and took part in a raid that caused Genzui to die.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
If I'm gonna end up fighting the guys I sided with anyway, then why give me a choice to begin with? But here's where I get to, the Testament of the Soul. This allows you to go back and replay different missions and potentially change the course of history. You can also go back to other regions that you've left and do some more activities there. So after all of this, I thought, what would have happened if I sided with the anti-shogunate instead of the Shinsengumi? Genzui would certainly have survived, right? Well, sorry to burst your bubble. Even when I sided with Katsura, I just fought 2 Shinsengumi instead of him and his master in the same place, who still ends up making a sacrifice even though we can get him to safety, and I just fought Kondo instead of Genzui, but the Satsuma still bomb the place and Genzui still dies. So all this does is change what you actually do in the mission and not history itself? What the hell is even the point then? Why didn't you bother to make different outcomes? This is the laziest choice system I've ever seen. I know this is a real time period and these events did happen similarly in the way that it's told, or at least that's what I'm assuming. But have you ever heard of canon? This thing that gives you the freedom to experiment with choices in RPGs, so you have the canon realistic outcome that happens in game, but also another one as a result of a choice you might make? You know how in Mass Effect 2, Shepard is supposed to survive, but there's an outcome where everybody dies at the end as a result of the choices you make? Spoiler alert, that game's been out a decade. How do you guys not understand this? The RPGs have been doing this since inception. If you're not gonna change the story with your choices, then don't give the player the option to make choices. Otherwise, it's nothing more than an illusion. This killed any desire I had to start a second playthrough, because I would just be playing the same game and none of my choices would matter. I have no sympathy for Team Ninja with this whatsoever. Time constraints, who gives a shit? And I was getting pretty intrigued by the end because I knew after we joined up with Katsu to try to reform the Shogunate, I knew both me and my supposed former comrades would have to come to blows eventually. But after seeing how it played out, that intrigue was for absolutely nothing. Oh wait, did I mention you're still looking for your Blade Twin? Well, that storyline is so boring I'm not even going to waste my breath on it. But it did give us one of the worst lines of dialogue I've ever heard.
Why are you so intent on provoking the British?
It saved me the trouble of provoking the British.
What? This story could have been so much better, but it wasn't. And that is painful to say. So, Rise of the Ronin has me thinking hard because it has a lot of problems, but I ultimately think that the gameplay is so good and some portions of the narrative and characters are genuinely compelling that it barely carries it to being a good game. The combat designers over at Team Ninja should get a raise, a promotion, everything in the book, because it is the only reason I am not being more hard on this game. The idea and the setting of Rise of the Ronin is great, but Team Ninja's execution of the entire package is not worth $70 in 2024. But like I said, I do think it is worth it when you can get it at a discount. In the future, if Team Ninja wants to stand out with more open world RPGs, it has to learn better world design, better quest variation, and more importantly, they need to take some damn chances with their stories and stop trying to have your cake and eat it too. In that way, Rise of the Ronin is Team Ninja personified. But I'm starting to think that's not a good thing. I expected more, but hey, I still had fun. Rise of the Ronin gets a 7 out of 10.